Cool. Okay, good. Next. Who is Steve Austin the man, and who is Stone Cold Steve Austin the performer?
The difference between Stone Cold Steve Austin the man and Stone Cold Steve Austin the performer is basically Stone Cold Steve Austin is exactly that. I don't even know what the difference is, really.
Steve Austin is one of the biggest superstars in the history of the wrestling business because of his passion for it. He had this meteoric rise that burnt hot and fast and changed an entire industry.
Talk about your Psalms, talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just whipped your ass. Really, the separation between Stone Cold and Steve Austin is only a matter of the surrounding that I'm in.
The character was a real person. The look in his eyes told a real story. And you know why? Because it was a real story.
He went from being a guy from Texas to a pro wrestler to a pop culture icon.
He was the defining character of a generation. The disruptor of the status quo, the pivotal player in the complete reimagination of the industry.
I've been retired for so long, I don't miss it anymore. I don't crave it. You can never replace it. I'm not trying to say that you can. But I wouldn't say there's anything about the life I used to live on the road that makes me yearn to go back in time to relive those days. But I do what I want, right here in this damn ring, and can't nobody stop me. The whole world knows my name is Stone Cold Steve Austin. If I'm going straight to hell, you're damn sure coming with me.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, his reign on top was second to none.
Everything about Steve was rebellious. Steve was the anti-hero hero.
He's the man responsible for making WWE more than we thought it could ever be.
People gravitated a lot to the energy that I brought to the business.
Steve didn't have a long career being on top, but he had that one peak. It was like, wow, no one will come close to that.
Stone Cold is the showbiz guy. Steve Austin is a regular guy. They just happen to be rolled up in the same package.
Vince looked at Steve, saw an average guy, says, I don't know what to do with him, and that accent. It's just, I can't relate to him. There's nothing about him I can relate to.
My initial impressions of him was, he's wasting my time.
There was no way to go with the ringmaster to make it marquee. I don't give a damn who was doing it. There's nothing there. And I said, man, this gimmick ain't worth a shit. And after 6 months or so, Vince is kind of like, I don't care what he does. If he's not happy and he wants to come up with another name, let him. I was living in a log cabin on 10 acres right outside of Georgia in Douglasville. And I was over there in my log cabin and I was drinking some beer. And that's when they had that special on HBO about Richard Kuklinski, the Iceman. Well, Richard Kuklinski was a hitman, for the mob. He's cold-blooded, he's remorseless. I was glued to the set. When you're sitting there watching and you got a couple of beers flowing, it's like, man, this could be something. And I pitched that, and that was when all the ideas started flowing.
That's a tricky situation where you're fairly new in the company. Mr. McMahon has agreed to give you a character change. and you were given a list from creative. The fact that I can rattle off more of Stone Cold's names than the terrible names that I was given speaks to just how bad they were.
I just gotten those 3 pages of names like Fang McFrost,
Snowman,
Otto Von Ruthless,
Mr. Freeze,
Ice Dagger,
Ice Dagger,
Cool Luke,
Fang McFrost,
Cool Cat,
Chili McFreeze.
Chili McFreeze. I mean, some of the worst names you could ever imagine.
Even given everything else in the Austin package, if he's Fang McFrost or Chili McFreeze, we're not having this interview right now.
And my wife at the time made me a cup of hot tea. And she goes, drink your tea before it gets stone cold. And she looks at me, she goes, that's your name, Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know, I'm not a rocket scientist, but when she said that name, I knew that was the one. I said, okay, this is a good name. And I wanted to be from Victoria, Texas, because, you know, I just thought it had a good ring to it, a good sound. But okay, now who is this guy? Who and what is Stone Cold Steve Austin? I got me some black boots made. I always thought black was badass, and he reminded me from Darth Vader, Oakland Raiders type stuff, and it fit my persona. I remember one time we were in Pittsburgh and we were about to work Mellon Arena, and there I was with that buzz haircut. And, you know, I looked in the mirror and I said, man, what are you doing? So I buzzed it all off with a razor, and then that's when I started messing with the mustache and finally turned into a goatee. So I started, once I got that goatee down, you know, that's when things started getting a little bit more menacing, and it picked up the visual that I needed.
I believed in the character because the character was a real person. Steve totally embraced the presentation of Stone Cold Steve Austin. He loved it. He owned it. He created it. He was bold enough to bet on himself and push and push and push until McMahon almost threw his hands up and said, okay, let's go, let's try it. He just needs a chance. Give him a reason to be a main event guy.
It takes a lot more than a look to be a superstar.
Statistically, he wasn't supposed to be on that stage being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Doctor wouldn't clear me to wrestle, but I was going to wrestle.
I watched Steve stand up on legs that he couldn't feel.
He was a bad guy. He had to be on guard a lot.
The most pivotal human beings in pro wrestling history.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Ooh, yeah!
You can't say anybody was better, but also tormented.
I was not just a drug addict. I was an angry one.
I want to be remembered making people feel a certain way when they watch me.
Man, that was a great ride.
Biography, WWE Legends, an 8-part event starts with Stone Cold Steve Austin, Sunday, April 18th at 8 on A&E.